Thank you, Kimberly, for hosting the 3-day webinar on how to start a spiritual business. I've spent the last couple of days meditating on what I learned during this 3-day seminar, and I wanted to give you some feedback, which I think is really quite important for the direction that your company is going, and the way that I see things are going in the spiritual business. I've spoken to many different spiritual consultants, spiritual healers, and I find a common problem with many of them. One of them goes back to the point that you made during the seminar, and that is this common belief in the esoteric world today that there is only one source. You said that if there's only one source, then everything comes from that source, and money included comes from that source. But that's not the way the world works. There are two sources. Those two sources go back to the very beginning of time. In my book, Torn Between Two Worlds, between wisdom and rhetoric, I lay out those two paths of what is wisdom and what is rhetoric. Rhetoric is the use of facts and figures, but not with true wisdom behind it. It's used to motivate people. If you go back to the description of paradise, we see that Adam and Eve had to choose between two things, between the tree of life and between the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, religions have lost the spiritual meaning for those symbols, but through time, those symbols have been represented in all the cultures. We know from the symbolism of the Greeks that the sun is the giver of life. Without the sun, there would be no life. And so the sun is the symbol for the source of life, for the tree of life. The moon is the symbol for darkness and for rhetoric, because the moon has no light of its own. The moon reflects the light of the sun. Not all of the light of the sun. We can't live from the reflection of the light of the sun. And the only time that we see the true face of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is during a solar eclipse, when the moon moves between the sun and the earth. And then we see the face of the moon. It's darkness. So in the spiritual world, in the divine spiritual world, there is no money. The currency in the spiritual world is service. And that service is reflected in the light of our souls. The brighter the soul, the more service that soul has provided to the spiritual world. We know we can't take money with us. The only thing that we can take with us into the spiritual world is the service that we've given humanity. So it's something I'd like you to consider when you're talking to your team and to your spiritual entrepreneurs, not to focus on currency, on money, but focus on service. What I've done is I've sent you a copy of my book in a Kindle version, and I hope you read it, and I hope you see that there are actually two sources. One is a source of life, a source of goodness, and the other is a source of evil. And it's using truth and twisting truth for our own purposes. Thank you again, Kimberly, for everything that you've done and all the work that you're doing. And I wish you great spiritual success in the future.